In a mansion, a young boy named Yuri closely observes a newly hired maid. Despite her flawless work, he remains suspicious. Little back in time, after his parents' passing, Yuri inherits the family mansion but can't afford the servants, forcing him to let them go. Yuri, determined to make things work on his own, embarked on the daunting task of running the mansion solo. However, the enormity of the chores, maintenance, and upkeep soon overwhelms him. Exhausted and isolated, he regrets letting the servants go. During this challenging time, a beautiful maid unexpectedly appears at Yuri's front door. Seeing the lack of servants in the mansion, she kindly offers her services to him. He deems her suspicious, even more so when she offers to work for no salary, but is ultimately convinced by her serious demeanor and intense purple eyes. Back in the present, as she excelled in her duties, Yuri couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. His thoughts were consumed by her presence. Lilith is aware of his suspicion, but seems amused by it, and even teases him, though she becomes flustered when Yuri admits he finds her beautiful. Yuri, convinced that Lilith is a magician, demanded answers about her intentions, yet she playfully insists her motives remain secret, which only raises Yuri's suspicions further. Later, Yuri finds her awake in the kitchen at midnight. The following morning, during breakfast, Yuri accuses the maid of tampering with his food, based on seeing her in the kitchen the previous night. She admits to mixing a love potion, intending to make him fall for her, though she is actually learning to cook his favorite foods. Yuri's curiosity about the maid deepens, and is surprised when the maid addresses him by his first name, akin to a spouse. But she becomes embarrassed when he explains to her. Yuri then searches the mansion's records and finds her name is Lilith. That night, Yuri insists that they should take their time to get to know each other better before using first names. Unbeknownst to Yuri, Lilith held a photograph that connected her to his family's past. A mysterious letter had set her on a path that led her to his mansion. Lilith buys Yuri gifts, leading him to believe she's trying to win his affection. Eventually, she confesses her intentions, stating that she'll win him over with her gifts, so he embarrasses her by declaring he will win her over instead. After Lilith disappears for a while, Yuri's suspicion grows. He searches the mansion until he finds her playing with a stray cat. Lilith invites Yuri to play, but he refuses when she playfully teases him. Yuri reveals he is afraid of cats, but wants to conquer that fear. Lilith asks him to feed the cat while she goes shopping. While Lilith is gone, another more aggressive cat appears, but Yuri, driven by newfound courage, drives it away and befriends the stray cat. Lilith returned and couldn't hide her jealousy as she watched Yuri petting the cat, becoming embarrassed when Yuri also pets her. Yuri sketches morning glory flowers but refuses to show Lilith until the sketch is finished. Believing a love potion to be behind his attraction to Lilith's dishes, asks her to teach him how to cook, showering her with praise for her food. In the process, he unintentionally embarrasses her by offering to marry her. Lilith later finds Yuri's sketch where he has compared her eyes with flowers. Yuri remains suspicious of Lilith's nighttime activities, but fatigue overcame him before he could discover her secret. It was then revealed that Lilith waited until Yuri fell asleep to watch him, her heart filled with silent affection. In the morning before Yuri left for school, Lilith would fuss over him, which reminds him of his lovey-dovey parents. At his school, there is a young girl named Gojuin. Gojuin, having heard about Yuri's parents' tragic death, approaches him to offer help and comfort, but fails. Meanwhile, Lilith becomes bored in Yuri's absence. Unbeknownst to Yuri, Lilith decided to surprise him by picking him up from school, disregarding his earlier instructions not to. Gojuin makes another attempt to talk to Yuri, but witnessing Lilith and Yuri together, and decide to observe them, couldn't help but grow suspicious of their relationship. She overheard Yuri praising Lilith's beauty, and excitedly believed both of them to be in a taboo relationship. Gojuin's butler, Fujisaki, arrived on the scene, recognizing Lilith. Lilith urged Gojuin to remain a good friend to Yuri. Later, Lilith stays out late, stubbornly trying to find a certain fish for Yuri's dinner, but it is sold out everywhere. Worried about Lilith, Yuri tries to call her but gets no response as she leaves her phone at home. Lilith buys the fish in the next town but realizes she's running late, and rushes to return, while Yuri thinks Lilith might never return. Lilith missed her last train, but fortunately, Lilith crosses paths with Fujisaki, who kindly offers her a ride home. When Lilith arrives home, a tearful Yuri accuses her of bewitching him to miss her when she is gone. She admits to bewitching him, but also congratulates him for coping so well without her. Lilith's worry deepened as she sensed Yuri's growing suspicion, as he grew more convinced that his attraction to Lilith was the result of magic, leading him to constantly monitor her actions. She desperately tried to ease his doubts but found herself unsuccessful. In an attempt to connect with Yuri, Lilith suggested they play chess, Yuri's favorite game. Yuri reminisces about his childhood, sharing a cherished memory with Lilith. He fondly recalls playing chess with his father, despite his father's busy schedule. Yuri's mother used to try and keep him from disturbing his father, but he would sneak out to spend time with him while his mother was occupied making pudding. It was during those precious moments that his father taught him to play chess, and they often played the game together, forming a special family bond. Lilith offers to play chess with Yuri whenever he wants, which makes him happy and ends up playing all day. The next day, Yuri returned from school with a heavy heart. Lilith, concerned, decides to make him pudding but is shocked when he accepts it without suspicion. She's relieved that he's no longer suspicious of her, but can't help but worry about the sudden change in his behavior. Yuri shares news of his school's open house but worries about others being attracted to Lilith. Surprisingly, Lilith is relieved and resolved to attend. Lilith faces a wardrobe dilemma, torn between wearing a dress and Yuri's suggestion of normal attire for the open house. On the day of the open house, Yuri was disappointed when Lilith didn't arrive with the other parents. However, his sadness quickly turned to joy when Lilith appeared in a borrowed butler's uniform from Fujisaki, surprising him and making his day. Early in the morning, Yuri is found energetically practicing in the hallways. He tells Lilith it's for an upcoming sports festival and invites her to watch him compete. While at school, unbeknownst to them, Gojuin continued to spy on their interactions. To divert Gojuin's attention away from Lilith and Yuri, Fujisaki used his charm and cuteness to try and distract her. Lilith takes the initiative and creates a schedule to assist Yuri in his sports festival training. Following practice, Lilith offers to massage an exhausted Yuri. Her skill makes him suspicious. Despite this, they continue their practice sessions. Meanwhile, at Gojuin's house, she sadly informs Fujisaki that her parents won't be able to attend the festival, so Fujisaki offers to attend, not realizing until too late that Gojuin has manipulated her. During the sports festival, Yuri's competitive spirit shone through as he gave his all. Gojuin couldn't help but suspect that he was trying to impress Lilith. Lilith playfully claimed that Yuri would receive a reward if he won, leading Gojuin to jump to conclusions. She fully supports Yuri, and his team win their first competition. Then they have lunch together, and Lilith is surprised when Yuri reveals she has to compete in the parents' obstacle race, a challenge she took on with determination. Thanks in part to Yuri's cheering and support, Lilith defied expectations and won first place in the obstacle race. Later on, when Yuri's classmates express their discontent, deeming it unfair for a maid to compete, Yuri proudly declares Lilith as his precious family. Later, while Lilith is out shopping, she gets caught in a sudden rainstorm, returns home thoroughly soaked, and jokingly asks Yuri to join her for a bath, but becomes flustered when Yuri mentions they aren't married. Lilith's increasingly strange behavior and mistakes in her usual tasks raise growing concerns for Yuri. However, it all becomes clear when in the midst of her work, she collapses, and Yuri confirms the rain gave her a fever. Yuri is deeply concerned for Lilith's health, but she is determined to return to her duties as a maid. When Yuri tries to stop her, Lilith laments being sidelined from her maid duties, but Yuri insists she focus on recovering. Lilith recovers, and much to her surprise, Yuri begins assisting with household chores and expresses a desire to spend more time with her. Gojuin invites Yuri to her Halloween party, prompting him to choose a sorcerer costume. He encourages Lilith to join in the fun, and she decides to dress as a dragon girl, which drives Gojuin mad with fantasies about their love life. Everyone enjoyed the party, while Fujisaki found herself deeply embarrassed when Gojuin coerced her into wearing a princess outfit for a photo shoot. Later at school, Gojuin presents Yuri with a photo from the Halloween party. Meanwhile, back at Yuri's home, Lilith receives a letter. Yuri finds he is less suspicious of Lilith lately, but his suspicion returns when she tries to hide the letters, but promises to explain it later. Lilith reveals the truth that her former employer has ordered her to return, but Yuri refuses to let her go, claiming himself to still be under her suspicious magic spell and declaring her as his maid. Lilith discards the letters, and Yuri hugs her for the first time. Yuri confides in Gojuin, admitting that he can't stop thinking about Lilith. Observing his preoccupation, Gojuin decides to be candid with him, telling Yuri that he might be in love, in hopes of helping him better understand his own feelings. When Yuri returns home, Lilith becomes concerned as he seems distant, even as she playfully tries to engage him. His sudden aloofness leaves her perplexed and worried. Yuri, wrestling with his emotions, almost asks her about love, but stops himself, telling her that it's a secret for now, leaving Lilith curious. The next day, Yuri confides in Gojuin about his confusion regarding love. She invites him to her house to teach him more about it. Yuri worries about Lilith leaving for a better job, but Gojuin assures him she's happiest with him. To help him understand love, she suggests reading romance light novels, but Fujisaki confiscates them before he can start. Yuri's return to his normal self leaves Lilith once again feeling confused and uncertain about his emotions and intentions. Yuri receives a drawing assignment and chooses to draw Lilith, hoping to reveal her true nature. However, his choice of words initially alarms Lilith, who fears he intends to draw her in the nude. But he means to draw her as a regular maid. Yuri is repeatedly unsatisfied with his drawing, and decides to draw her until he is satisfied but soon begins to lose sleep. Lilith's attempts to make Yuri sleep fail until she offers to sleep next to him. As they lie down, Yuri confesses his worries about not knowing the real Lilith. Lilith helps him sleep with a lullaby his mother used to sing. Yuri awakens refreshed and insists on sharing a bed again. Additionally, his drawing wins in art class. As Yuri insisted, Lilith decided to take a day off, but Yuri couldn't shake the suspicion when he noticed Lilith dressed up and going out, fearing she had a date with someone else. Lilith met Fujisaki at a cafe and recalled their school days when he was a delinquent who transformed after graduation. She realizes the change was caused by her meeting Gojuin, and hopes similarly close to Yuri one day. Fujisaki tells Lilith that if she wants Yuri to open his heart to her, she needs to do the same, which Lilith is unsure about. Yuri, who had been following Lilith, overheard them and quickly returns home. He confronts Lilith over her talk with Fujisaki and asks if it's related to his past because overhearing them had caused him to remember that when he was younger, his parents had brought a girl. That Lilith was the girl who had once sung him his mother's lullaby. Lilith confesses it was her but didn't say it earlier to let him remember on his own, as she willing to tell him everything, but Yuri decides he needs to remember his own. Gojuin notices Yuri acting differently and asks if anything happened between him and Lilith. As he admits, he and Lilith have made some progress with their relationship. Her reaction makes Yuri realize that his feelings towards Lilith are not of suspicion, but of love. Overwhelmed by his emotions, Yuri rushed home and, unable to contain his feelings any longer, confessed his love to Lilith, eager to express what he had realized. However, before Lilith could respond, they were both confronted by another maid, who demanded Lilith's immediate return. Lilith introduces her as a former colleague, Natsume. Yuri pleads with Natsume not to take her back. She refuses, claiming Yuri's mansion isn't suitable for Lilith. She then decides to test Yuri's suitability as master, as Lilith declines her offer. Natsume tests Yuri, and determines that Yuri's educational level and lack of wealth make him an unsuitable master, despite his every little efforts to impress Lilith. Natsume constantly tries to convince, and Lilith finally confronts Natsume about her obsession, and demands that she respect her wish to stay with Yuri. Having recently realized his own feelings, Yuri realizes Natsume probably loves Lilith too. Natsume finally admitted her love for Lilith, and Yuri returned to school while Lilith resumed her duties. Natsume refuses to believe Lilith is happy serving Yuri, and decides to observe her for a whole day. Though when Yuri returns, she cannot reconcile this belief with how he and Lilith act around each other. Yuri also observes Natsume and doubts she is a maid like Lilith, so she decides to prove herself but burns food and causes more messes than she manages to clean. Strangely, Lilith felt a sense of nostalgia as she cleaned up after Natsume's messes. During a shared bath, Lilith confides in Natsume about Yuri's declaration of love. Natsume admits that Yuri is a good master, but keeps the reasons to herself, wanting Lilith to realize it alone. Yuri tells Gojuin about his love confession and mentions having a new member. Gojuin's imagination runs wild, but Yuri clarifies that he's referring to Natsume. She is excited that Yuri seemingly has a rival for Lilith's love. Natsume arrives to pick up Yuri from school, and she becomes suspicious when she sees him with Gojuin. However, her attention shifts when she spots Fujisaki, whom she is scared of. Yuri clears Natsume's doubts about Gojuin. Natsume, planning to leave soon, asks for Yuri's help in choosing a Christmas gift for Lilith. Two older boys try to bully Yuri, and though Natsume saves him, she is impressed that he stood up to them. As a gesture of gratitude for saving him, Yuri agrees to help Natsume. She asks for Yuri's help to plan a surprise Christmas party for Lilith, leading Yuri to tell Lilith he'd be spending Christmas with Gojuin, making her disappointed. Natsume then invites Lilith out on Christmas. Yuri invites Gojuin to the party, pretends to go to her house, and Natsume takes Lilith out, giving them the chance to prepare for the surprise party. While Natsume is initially nervous and struggles to make conversation with Lilith, however, somehow, they manage to find enjoyment and have fun together. Lilith buys Natsume hair ornaments and Natsume gifts Lilith a pen, asking her to write letters to her after she leaves. Returning to the mansion, Natsume is surprised when she discovers that Yuri changed the plan because he didn't want to hide this from Lilith and had plotted with Lilith to throw the Christmas party for her instead. The Christmas party is a great success, and after Gojuin and Fujisaki leave, Natsume falls asleep. Yuri leaves her a Christmas gift, a pair of woolen mittens Lilith helped him knit himself. The next morning, Lilith is greeted by her former master, and Natsume, out shopping with Yuri, confides in him about her newfound confidence to confess her feelings to their master. Lilith apologizes to her ex-master for leaving without informing him, but he's happy that Lilith enjoys working for Yuri. Lilith reveals her past to her former master, including the story of her parents' disappearance and her chance meeting with Yuri's parents, who were friends with her own. They had welcomed her into their home and treated her like family. Lilith also reminisces about a young Yuri praising her eyes and her journey to becoming a maid as a way to repay Yuri's parents' kindness. Overwhelmed by concern for Yuri upon hearing about his condition, she rushes to his side. Yuri arrives home with Natsume. Lilith introduces him to her former master, but Yuri fears Lilith might be leaving. However, Master assures him he is just there to collect Natsume. After their guests leave, Lilith and Yuri grapple with an awkward silence. Lilith suggests going somewhere, and when Yuri asks if it's a date, she agrees. Lilith and Yuri go out together. In town, Gojuin spotted them but is stopped from following them by Fujisaki. Under the glowing Christmas lights, Lilith gathers the courage to ask Yuri about his feelings for her. Yuri says he doesn't know yet, but looks forward to finding out with her, and they return home. In the end, on the following snowy morning, Lilith and Yuri build snowmen, and Yuri adds 6 tiny snow children next to them, causing Lilith's embarrassment.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this. If you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, take care.